We mentioned my cousin, Justin.
Yes.
He used to work as a ticket taker in a theatre, and he told me this the other night, that he was in one of the theatres when, this is a long segue, but when Last Temptation of Christ came out, the Scorsese film. Another way of approaching this is because it turned out to be controversial as well, but in a very different way. In a way, it was cancelled at a time when it was cool to be cancelled, because it was cancelled by the religious elements of the religious or Catholic community.
Religious right.
Yeah, the religious right.
At least in the States.
It was a huge deal at the time.
Yeah, it was. And I thought it was a shame because I think it didn't get the distribution it deserved.
Some theatres pulled it.
And some, many.
Did they?
Many, sure.
And I mentioned Justin because he apparently would have to check people's bags.
Right.
Because the threat level was so high. And in fact, you'll know this, October 22, 1988, some crazy Catholic group set fire to Saint-Michel Cinema in Paris while it was showing the film. The attack injured 13 people, 4 of whom were severely burned and severely damaged the cinema.
Also, there were many incidents like that. Someone drove a semi into a theater. These kinds of things.
Do you want to say anything about that? That must have been upsetting, right?
Yes. It's just strange in a world of slasher films and porn and all that people get so upset about this because it's based on a novel. And, broadly speaking, they're changing the classic story a little bit to consider the character of Jesus in a different way. That's all. It's not this plot to overthrow some religious thought, or change some religious thought. It's a consideration, another way of looking at the human aspect of Jesus as opposed to the divine part.
It didn't feel especially irreverent, like Jesus does miracles, and I mean, he's got human traits. Nevertheless, he's depicted as having a yearning for a family life and having sexual interests, and that evidently was considered.
Well, remember that a lot of people had protests against the film without seeing it. Yeah. It was the idea. They don't even like the idea of Hollywood making a movie about Jesus unless it's sanctioned by them. Is your faith so weak that it can be threatened by someone else's idea? You're kind of hitting the greatest hits here.
I'm trying to keep it moving. The original cast included Aidan Quinn as Jesus. Did you know that?
Of course.
Sting.
I know Aidan, and they tried to do the movie, but it fell apart for various reasons. And then when they got it together, the second time, I had a very simple call that Martin Scorsese wants to talk to you. And I said, great. And they said, what's it for? This movie, Last Temptation. Oh, they're getting that together. Yeah. And I said, for what role? They said, Jesus, you idiot. And I read the script, and I thought that was a wacky idea. But then I read the script, and I said, okay, I get it. Yeah, I want to do this badly. I mean, to work with Martin Scorsese would be enough, but I thought it was a role at that point in my life that I was, connected to.
Did any of that stuff touch you?
Of course. You mean the controversy?
Mm-hmm.
Only to a degree. I mean, down the road, there was one project in particular that I was cast in, and the studio uncast me because they didn't like that I was associated with Last Temptation.
Really?
Yeah. But I don't want to do a big cry crocodile tears about that because it could have been much worse. But I didn't feel it so much. I think most of the responsibility fell on Martin Scorsese. And I get censored on this, but I think it's really true that somewhere people think actors, are kind of a little whorish, and they'll do whatever, to get a good role or something, so they don't hold you responsible somehow. They really look to the director and the studio.
The auteur.
Became a huge anti-Semitic thing, too, because an association that this religious right talked about, the evil people in Hollywood. So in America, anyway, that was the main fight.
The spin, that they put a construction on it that it was shadowy Jewish people who were...
Yeah.
Really? I hadn't realized that.
That was a big part of it. It was a political opportunity for them to rally around an issue.